And we're back in the last segment of South Texas Crossfire. And I tell you, I'm excited, just like we were about Judge Stith coming on and the Youth Congress that just came on. Ladies and gentlemen, go friend them. David Stith on Facebook, your judge, 319th District Court, or Youth Congress. Plus, we've got somebody else who loves Facebook and who worked very hard. I'm very, very proud to announce the Democrat nominee for judge going into the Super Bowl in November, asking for everyone's vote now, Judge Melissa Madrigal. Hi, Judge. How are you?
How you doing?
Hey, congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
should have some graphics. Dave, can we get some balloons and streamers in here? Yeah. We're going to have some pictures of election night, with your permission. And tell us a little bit about your campaign and what you ran on for the youth of South Texas.
My campaign was basically focusing on my experience in that court, the 6 years I was there as a prosecutor, the years I spent advocating for children, and it was just very positive. I just focused on why I should be judged, not why somebody else shouldn't. I didn't have to hire anybody to be attacking anybody. I went straight just on what I have accomplished and why I wanted to be the judge of that court, what I expected out of a judge. To get there early, to be prepared, to be willing to listen to parents, probation, CASA, CPS, to listen to everybody, and then make a thoughtful decision on the case.
Well, Ed, you touched on something that said, your opponent, politics can get tough.
Yes,
and you didn't respond to any attacks.
No.
But yet, it's a difficult dancing on the head of a pin, because then you have to reach out and say, let's all work together and unite again for November. And so, a lot of that now, the Latino vote cannot be taken for granted, and neither can we've seen that you had a lot of crossover vote. Yes. My sources at KTMV tell me that a lot of Republicans voted for you and crossed over in the primary as well. And that's the information that we're getting, confirmed by some very staunch Republicans that said that they wanted to see you judge. So let's touch on that a little bit. South Shores, the island, Ocean Drive, you've met conservatives out from over there. Why should Republicans pull the arm for you? Because a lot of them think, Democrat, no way. Why do you think a lot of them are supporting you, and why should they pull the lever in November for you?
I think really it's because that I'm extremely reasonable. I don't, even though I was raised a Democrat and running as a Democrat, when unfortunately in Texas you have to run on a party. And I've always been a Democrat. I run a Democratic Party. But once you're sworn in, you become completely unbiased. Party is not an issue. I'm supposed to follow the law, and that's what I do, regardless of party affiliation. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. It's not the issues that kids are facing, not being protected, that their homes are not appropriate for them. They're being abused. They're being sexually abused. They are committing crimes. It's not an issue of Republican or Democrat. It's really an issue for public safety and the safety of children. And that crosses all party lines.
And I think that's maybe the resounding victory you had, was that you had that Republican crossover vote, some conservatives that say, you know what, we want Madrigal up there, because I think I interviewed, two Republicans who said you were a prosecutor and protected our children.
Yes.
You were an ad litem on the private practice side,
Yes.
and you're still a sitting judge, setting the bonds. And high bonds sometimes to protect the public.
And
it's not a criticism, actually it's a compliment, but you have to, each bond you set, say there's so much violence going on right now in our community, you're the initial person who sets those bonds sometimes, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and what sort of safeguards, like the very conservative, and we're just talking not even Democrat or Republican, we're talking conservative community that we have here, are tired of the violence.
Yeah.
Our friend Benjamin Mustafa, may he rest in peace, who was gunned down in a cowardly fashion.
Sure was.
And we also had a lady that was killed by a youth, also that came to trial, and then the young man who was struck down just with the blows of a fist and died. So we've one after another, violence. So tell us a little bit about your thought process when you set those bonds as a sitting judge.
Well, my thought process is I look at and it's a case by case analysis. No one case is the same. And I look at each case independently, and I look at what transpired. I read the police report. If there's co-defendants, I read their police reports, and I make a determination. If I feel that the public is in danger, the way I feel is that the most vulnerable members of our society are our elderly, our senior citizens, and our children. And I need to feel that I'm doing the right thing to protect them. Do I believe that everybody has constitutional rights? I sure do. But my job is to protect the public, and that's first and foremost in my mind. I give very stringent conditions of release because by law you have a right to bail, and we have to set it. But I'm going to also make sure that there's conditions that you have to follow and that are very strict, that you're not posing a danger. And the moment those conditions are violated, the judge of your court that you're assigned to is going to yank you back in. And if you have to stay the rest of the time in jail, well, then that was your mistake.
Well, and I think you got a very big compliment from your opponent in November, who I like a lot, and I know that you get along well with.
We get along.
It's said, if I don't win, the public would still be in good hands with her, quote unquote.
I appreciate
that. And, and the thing is, the other thing he said was that you're very qualified as well. So that's high praise in a political campaign, somebody who's on the opposite side already saying, and so you're looking at politics. So let's zoom back in on politics. Okay. The crossover vote you got was very unusual. I looked at the spending. They outspent you 2-1.
Yeah.
You didn't have a lot of money for your campaign there, but you had a lot of support. Yeah. I saw your commercials. Compliments of a very good guy.
Very good photographer and videographer.
Yes. And, they kind of sent a good positive message. Talk to us a little bit about negative campaigning. You touched on that. How does that affect the result of a campaign in your estimation?
I think negative campaigning makes the candidate look weak. If you can't win on your own credentials, that you are the best candidate for X, Y, and Z reasons, then you go negative and you try to deflect from that. And I know I was attacked on radio and by my opponent and people that were hired. But I wasn't going to roll around in the mud. I'm there to show that I'm the best candidate. I have the most experience, and as a sitting judge, I'm going to I rise above that. I don't get into petty squabbles with anyone.
Yeah, and let's set the record straight. One of the criticisms was it involved, was it setting bail or something that you couldn't comment on? In other words, as a judge,
there's cases I cannot comment on.
You can't comment. In other words, how frustrating is it for a judge of whether federal or state that the public's attacking you, yet your hands, Judge Longoria, Judge Manderi, Judge Stith, they all comment just like yourself. Your hands are tied.
They are. You, I rest assured that I make the best decision that I feel in that case. And unfortunately, if other people, they may not agree, but they don't know the real facts of a case that we have. And, I have to do what's right for the public. And, if other people want to criticize, that's fine. I can't respond to that.
You can't.
And I'll just, I just leave it alone,
Well, I know that you're involved in the community. What are you going to be doing besides the campaigning during this summer and leading into Labor Day with the youth right now? What are some of the programs that you're involved in? What are the things that you're doing out in the community to make it a better community?
Well, right now it's, because I still work and have a private practice. In different counties. I'm not allowed to practice here in Nueces County. And that takes up a lot of time for me. The campaign is really, really, I know, some people say wait till September. No, I think you have to work on it all the way through.
You got to work it.
Understand that I'm very focused with my job. I work a lot. I work weekends. I work my private work, and that takes the main portion of my time. Any other time, I have like you said, I didn't ask for a lot of money because I felt I needed to prove mainly for myself that I was able to get this with the friends and the family that I had, and I needed to prove that I could do this on my own. And that's what I did. And so it's going to be, most of my time is going to be focusing on those people to try to get more people out to vote in November.
Along with your busy schedule, you still make time for organizations that protect our children and the Drug Advisory Board, because it's out of control. Like, I'm very concerned. I mean, I'm a moderate, but this whole thing about synthetic marijuana, this, and then harder drugs, methamphetamine, cocaine. What sort of at-risk youth, as a prosecutor, and that motivated you to get involved in this drug panel? And in the past, with the Corpus Christi Youth and Children Board, why did you get involved in these extra activities?
Because I felt it's important for us to have, you have to have kids that are focused, to have an investment in the community. If they don't have an investment in the community, they don't. What I've seen is kids don't have a lot of hope. And I've met children that never been to Padre Island, never been to San Antonio. And by being involved in these, we're hoping to develop more programs, so get kids more exposed to different things. Kickball, I'm very involved in kickball. I love to play. I, sponsor teams. The Commission on Youth and Children, that was more protective. And the Drug Advisory Board, we need a drug court for the CPS families, and I think Judge Flores is starting that up again, which is a good thing, to help people that are hooked on drugs in order to get them off and get their children back. Because it's important to reunify those families.
And let's rewind a little bit. A lot of people don't understand the inner workings of that court that you're seeking to serve. There's a lot of drugs and a lot of abuse that reports and allegations that go through there. How would you change what has been going on the last 4 years, or since after Judge Lewis and Shamsi? There was a little bit of a controversy on saving money in that court, but balancing that with helping our children. I mean, how would you resolve that? Because conservatives are going to go, are you going to raise the budget? Are you going to spend more? But is it smart spending or paying up front?
It's smart spending. And what is, in the last 4 years, they had the associate judge. Okay, I plan to be a full-time judge. I plan to do what's necessary to get the job done on a daily basis. So I don't plan to have an associate judge. I plan to work my time and hear all my cases and save those funds for other things. Now, if we need to appoint an attorney for certain cases, we need to do it, because we can't say, I feel no honor in saying I saved money on the backs of children and families. I don't feel honor in that.
But a Republican out there watching this right now will say, well, you spend money giving a free attorney to these people that allegedly burnt, whipped, choked their children, or did some act of horrible violence or sexual deviation. Why should they get an attorney? And you brought a point up about appeals.
Yeah. The reason they get an attorney is to protect the record. The people have a right to representation, and if we give them the attorney, then the case ends there. If we don't have an attorney, then they're going to appeal, and then we have to issue another attorney. We have to pay for a complete court record.
And how much what's a ticket on that?
That's that's like, what is it, $5 a page?
Over $15,000 for an appeal?
That's I think it can go.
I think that's conservative.
And to avoid those things and to make sure that people's rights are protected, we have to appoint attorneys. Good thing is, I practice in that court, and I know what it takes to handle a case. And those, we're gonna make sure that things are even. No extras.
Or padding the billing. Some people are trying to get more than others.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you would approve before they go out the bills,
yes.
the attorney bills.
You have to.
Because that's your budget.
You have to keep a limit on it. And there's cases where they come in and hey, this case is going to be able to be resolved. It's not going to take, it's not going to go to a DCC, it's not going to go to a termination. So in those cases, you might say, you know what, maybe I don't need to. The parents are willing to cooperate, so in the beginning portion, we don't need to. And it's a case-by-case analysis. Now, if it's a case of horrible abuse where they're going to go for termination, appoint the attorney early on and get it done with so that you don't have appeals later. Also, I don't want cases to linger. There's no need, if parents aren't doing what they need to do, and if they've absconded and not caring for their children in the first 6 months, don't let it linger up to 18 months past that. It's an 18-month for all that time just to sit there. Take care of it early.
So it's a balance between keeping a tight docket, keeping your cases moving,
That's
and
exactly
then
what it
watching the
is.
bottom line.
Yes, it is.
We've got a couple of minutes left. Knocking on doors in Bishop, Driscoll, Agua Dulce, calling all cars, Banquete, Robstown, Corpus, the Island. What would you like to tell everybody? I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, Tea Party. What would you like to tell them about why should they vote for Melissa Madrigal to be the next judge of the juvenile justice system?
I would like to tell them that, it's just like I said earlier, it's not about Democrat, Republican. That court is about following the law and having the experience on the bench to make the decisions that protect the families and the children of Nueces County. And I'm the only one that's been a judge that has been a prosecutor in that court for the past for 6 years, and then represented children. My entire career has been spent advocating for children, and I have enough experience in there to know what it takes to handle a case. I'm going to work. I don't need an associate judge because I work full time.
Right.
Even now, I'm a sitting judge, but I work on weekends because that's what's required of me. And I don't have a problem with it. You have to go and you have to decide how you're going to run your court. Are you going to run it and work, until the cases are done, or are you going to just reset after reset, hold hearings by phone? I don't know. I don't believe in any of that. Okay? I'm going to work hard, to save taxpayer money, but I'm not going to do it on the backs of children and families. It's going to be done in a manner where everyone is protected.
All right, and everybody out there in Nueces County, if they want to become your friend on Facebook, how do they contact you? What's the name on there that they look up on their handheld phone on Facebook?
Mel Madrigal at Facebook.com.
And it's Mel Madrigal,
yes,
Madrigal,
yeah.
Short for Melissa Madrigal, Mel Madrigal. And you could also, what's the magic number if they want a yard sign, if they want T-shirts, they want to get involved in your campaign and start stumping for you and helping you on block walking?
It's 361-816-6315. And you'll reach me directly.
And 816-6315, 816-6315 to talk to Judge Melissa Madrigal, running to be your next Juvenile Justice Center judge. And we also dedicate this program, this segment, to the late Carl Lewis,
Yes.
who you helped. It all began in 1999 in that court.
He was the original judge of that court. He was the first judge of County Court Number 5. And I was fortunate enough to be the prosecutor when he was the judge, and I learned so much from him. He told me, I'll never forget it, to know the difference between a knucklehead who's just making regular teenage mistakes, and kids do make mistakes, and a criminal, somebody that's hurting somebody and causing a danger in our community. He goes, know the difference. And I think through my experience, I've been able to learn the difference.
Yeah, and Judge Carl Lewis, we devote that. You're honored. You're never forgotten. And I had the honor of appearing in front of him for many years. So this program, again, this segment is dedicated to Carl Lewis. Thank you, Judge Madrigal, for coming on.
I do want to say one thing.
Yes, please.
I just want to say thank you to all the voters, everybody that voted.
I forgot.
Me.
Please.
Everybody that supported me, everybody that went out and voted, everybody that even crossed party lines. I'm so appreciative. I'm grateful. I'm humbled by all the support. Thank you.
Wow, I forgot all about that. Yes, Judge Melissa Madrigal, thanking the voters out there for their support. And again, the magic number is 816-6315.
That's correct.
That's 816-6315 for your yard sign, your T-shirt, and also to get involved. And also friend Mel, M-E-L, Madrigal, M-A-D-R-I-G-A-L. We're out of time, but remember that register to vote, and you will be seeing her appearing maybe on your front door or at least in your TV all summer long. And if you want to learn more, visit her on Facebook, get involved, and maybe a campaign contribution or host a fundraiser in your home, because it takes money for a campaign. And she, again, is very grateful. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.